We got the story from the Post Millennial. Trump, Giuliani, and others to be booked at Fulton County Jail. Suspects in Fulton County are booked and arraigned on 2 separate occasions. So, according to standard procedure, Donald Trump will be in county lockup, a not so special prison. The left calls it decrepit and say people die there. So I have a few questions. How do they handle something like this? But more importantly, what would happen? And everyone's saying it won't happen. So fine, sure, whatever. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying, question, what would happen if with these charges, Donald Trump, his associates, or any one of these individuals refuses to go to Georgia and surrender? What happens then?
Fugitive charges?
So there's interesting constitutional provision, and it's really just absolutely hilarious. The armchair people on Twitter who have no idea what's going on in this world and think they know everything. And that's not everybody. I'm just saying they exist. One person brought up a really good point saying the Constitution says if someone flees from justice, then the feds can intervene to bring the person back to that state. But what if you're not in the state and weren't in that state and the state accuses you of a crime? The legal argument is that you are fleeing from justice by not surrendering. But this would mean if Donald Trump, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, or any one of these individuals refuses to surrender, their state would have to cooperate. Law enforcement would have to be sent out by Joe Biden to take in a former presidential administration official or lawyer and bring them to Georgia to be brought to jail. What happens? It's interesting. Ron DeSantis said that he would not assist in any extradition of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, of course, is currently in Bedminster. But what if he goes down to Mar-a-Lago?
It would be awesome, Tim. It would be just the most awesome thing ever to see that. It would, I mean, and it would be terrible for the country. I'm aware, and there are people that are mad at me for saying
I don't know if that's true either.
I say see how far it goes. Like, push the envelope, make them come get you. I want those optics. I want the feds.
I think they should have to go serve documentation to Trump. I think Donald Trump not going to get a fair shake in Bedminster. He's up in New Jersey. Good luck with that. I think Trump, his perfect play is to go to Florida, make DeSantis put his money where his mouth is. And this is not a dig on DeSantis. It's like, do you have the integrity to uphold what you've said? But more importantly, if Georgia has an issue, they don't deliver this via press conference on TV. If they're going to arrest Trump, they have to go to his residence and serve him the arrest documents. It's such a strange phenomenon that people are like, Donald Trump should go surrender. Yeah, if they serve him legal paperwork and say, hello, Donald Trump, here's the legal paperwork. You can take a copy of it, bring it to your lawyers. You can surrender in 10 days or you will be arrested. All right. What's happening now is this lady goes on TV and says, we expect them to surrender in 10 days. That's not legal. You can't go on TV and be like, I'm suing them. It's like, okay, well, until I actually have legal documents saying I'm being sued with a court signature and all that stuff, you're not doing anything. For all Trump knows, there was never even a grand jury. How's he supposed to know that? How is he supposed to? For all he knows, a prosecutor went on TV and is just like, come on down, Trump, and she can take a picture with him and smile, get an autograph. Unless I'm not literally suggesting that's what she's doing. But for Trump and all these defendants, their lawyers are going to have to be served some kind of paperwork or documentation. And I think the smartest play for Trump is to go to Mar-a-Lago and just say, if you are charging me, you can deliver the documents to my residence where I will answer for them. And then we will discuss terms of either surrender or a legal challenge.
Yeah. And I mean, Trump was acting in his federal capacity during this entire thing as like a federal officer. So I'm not even convinced that a state has the authority necessarily to arrest him for something like that. I guess we'll see. It might go all the way to the Supreme Court. But what they're doing to these folks is just despicable. I mean, my colleague Jeff Clark is one of the ones who's been indicted along with President Trump.
Acting assistant attorney general. Yeah, yes. I mean, wow. And that's like the second law. Wow.
No, it's absolutely bonkers. And he was just providing legal advice, right? He was just telling Trump, this is how I think that you could apply the law. And for that crime, which is not even a crime, right? They're saying it is. It's totally preposterous.
Well, Jenna Ellis, I think, is the funniest because she's being charged with just being Trump's lawyer.
Right.
That's basically it. Yeah. By just being his lawyer, they're charging her with RICO.
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe it's about intimidation. Like I said last night, it's about the establishment wanting to intimidate the population, including lawyers, anyone that might run in the future, like you can't
and
get
they're
out of
taking them out of the game
but,
too. Like these are talented people that are going to be put on the sidelines while they have to deal with all of this.
That's the point. But I want to speculate here. What do you think happens if they don't surrender? Is it something really boring, like a guy shows up, knocks on the door, and says, "I have a warrant for your arrest," and they go, "Oh, okay," and then they get in a car and they drive off?
I don't know who the Secret Service actually answers to, because if the Secret Service answers to Donald Trump, the Secret Service are armed and they'll have plenty of gear to actually pose a serious threat. So if anyone is going to go pick up Donald Trump and the Secret Service actually answers to him as opposed to answering to DC, and they listen to him and he says, "Don't let them come take me," well, you're going to have a SWAT team with a gunfight or an FBI hostage rescue team in a fight with Secret Service, gunfight with Secret Service over Donald Trump.
If that's how World War III or whatever starts, I never saw that coming.
Civil War. Well, that's how Civil War starts.
I'm not going to say that on the show. You never know.
I mean, I and this is all just a dude that yells at a stick for a living, talking out of his ass. So take it for not like it what it's worth, which is nothing. It's worth nothing. But I mean, like I don't know how the Secret Service, how what
the command structure is.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know what happens. But if it is, it's possible. But because the Secret Service is supposed to protect Donald Trump. And even if Donald Trump does get picked up and goes to jail, none of that takes away the fact that he's got Secret Service protection for the rest of his life. So that means that there's going to be Secret Service. He's going to have to be in a special jail, some type of special jail. And Secret Service is going to have to rotate in and out of his cell because they're not going to leave him alone with his cellmate. You can't, he's got Secret Service protection for the rest of his life, But
the Secret Service, his own Secret Service, if he were to start committing murder, like starting to murder people on the street, his own Secret Service would have to stop him, I would imagine. They don't serve him, they serve the law and the post-president.
I don't know that the Secret Service is obligated. I would assume the human being that is the Secret Service officer, or whatever, if Donald Trump decided to start just mowing people down, I assume he would stop him. That being said, I don't think the Secret Service is any more obligated to stop someone that's committing a criminal act than the regular police are, and the regular police are not obligated. The Supreme Court has decided that they're not. So I don't know that they would be obligated to stop him, but I would assume that a normal human being in the role of Secret Service officer would probably stop the former president from killing people.
There are people right now saying on Twitter that to end this right now, Donald Trump need refuse to surrender. Publicly state he will challenge this to the Supreme Court. That one, the actions they're challenging him on are protected as he was president at the time, and that the leaking of the indictment before the grand jury voted proves that this is a political conspiracy to steal or seize power. There's a legal argument, not the way I described it. There's a legal way to describe it. Improper, unconstitutional actions or something like that. Some people have said Trump and the Republicans can end this right now by doing what needs to be done. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know what would happen. I have no idea. It's entirely possible that what the Democrats are trying to do is muster up some kind of reaction so that they can use it to justify more. If Trump doesn't surrender, they then go and say he's a fugitive from justice, and that instantly justifies the removal from of his name from the ballot or something like that. Maybe Trump says, okay, we go to court. Then he files a bunch of extensions. He files to have it transferred to Fulton, out of Fulton County to federal court, like what Mark Meadows is doing, and that delays the process until the election takes place and his name stays in the ballot. That might be the correct strategy for this. It does seem like they will all be surrendering. Giuliani, for instance, said that he's planning sometime next week to go down. My question is, what would happen if they don't? And then, if Trump stays in Florida, for instance, for one, that puts tremendous pressure on Ron DeSantis. But I don't know if Trump wants to do that because DeSantis is already falling in the polls. However, it does create pressure. It would force DeSantis to defend Trump, which can either put DeSantis in a difficult position where now he's 100% on board with MAGA and against the machine. The opportunity there is DeSantis really anti-deep state or whatever? Well, here's your opportunity. If Trump then refuses and says, serve me the paperwork and my lawyers will negotiate, then he has time without going to jail, no mugshot, no jail time. And then he gets the Supreme Court to issue a ruling on it and crush it instantly before they can pull off whatever weird scheme they want to pull off. I don't know. I have no idea what happens. here's what I'd prefer, I guess. If I suppose the simple surface level response I could give is I think Trump would be better off not surrendering and simply saying, I have not received any legal documentation or notification in my home state of any charges against me from anyone else. The simple act of a press conference is not a legal declaration that gives them the authority to take any actions. When my local law enforcement make contact with my attorneys, as per any pending charges or extradition to another state, I will absolutely respond with legal documents. That's what he should do. And he should do it from Florida, not from New Jersey. Although the DeSantis supporters want Ron DeSantis to throw him under the bus. So I don't know what you get with that.
I think, too, we have to remember, like, questioning an election's legitimacy is something that has happened throughout this country for, you know, centuries almost. I mean, Jackson questioned his 24 election and would reportedly walk around talking about how it was stolen. You had Bush, you had Stacey Abrams. Countless individuals do this sort of thing when there is evidence of widespread fraud, or they think there is evidence of widespread fraud. In Trump's case, there actually was massive fraud, whether that was, you know, the censorship of the Hunter Biden story and how media kind of co-opted voters' access to various sources of information on the Biden family, or whether that was, you know, a pipe bursting in an Atlanta ballot count center.
I like cheating better than fraud.
Yeah.
Because fraud, some people, you say that people might think cheating, but some people might think legal fraudulent actions like fake ballots and stuff. Cheating is better. The shadow campaign to steal the election that Time magazine published, that's cheating. Withholding the Hunter Biden laptop, cheating. Changing the rules at the executive level without approval from the state legislature, cheating. What they're doing right now by arresting Donald Trump, his lawyers, and the former presidential administration's personnel, cheating. I like cheating better.
I like the word manipulating. But I think we're all right. I mean, I don't know if it's technical fraud either, but I think it's both cheating, manipulative, and cheating. I mean, you could say it's cheating.
Get a man on the street, go to Times Square.
The thing is, it didn't break the rules.
Yes, it did.
They just changed the rules.
It did break the rules.
Oh, then it is cheating.
Yeah. So the Constitution says that the state legislature has final authority on how the elections are run and how electors are assigned. And when you got governors changing the rules without the approval of the state legislature and courts bypassing the state legislature, that was in violation of the Constitution. Thus, Texas filed a lawsuit under original jurisdiction to the Supreme Court saying the way that these states handled their elections violates the Constitution, and thus what did they say? Basically, it's stripping Texas of their right to a free and fair election if other states are violating the Constitution. The Supreme Court just said, screw you, we don't want to hear it. So instead of actually hearing the arguments on the merits, the Supreme Court just said, leave us out of it.
Why?
Because they're evil and corrupt people
Court?
and cowards.
But you're talking about the Supreme Court?
Thomas and Alito, I think, were the ones who were like, we must hear this argument.
Yeah, they were afraid to because they were afraid to hear the argument and then find in favor of Donald Trump because there was merit to it, and it was like it
wasn't even in favor of Trump. It was Texas saying, if we do our elections by the Constitution and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Georgia and Michigan or whatever don't, then there was no legitimate election. Yeah. It's like basically saying you and 10 of your buddies are going to decide how much money you pitch in by lunch, and then one of your friends just gives a bunch of counterfeit bills, and you're like, no. Why am I spending $20? We all agreed everyone puts in $20. This $20 wasn't real, or at least I don't know if it was real. And they say, nah, shut up. You don't get to.
There were articles written about like the discussions they had about whether or not they would take this, and they were concerned about the reaction the population would have if they found in a way that would help Donald Trump. They were really, really concerned about it. The Supreme Court justices.
Jenna Ellis.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Is being criminally indicted under RICO charges for the simple act of being Trump's lawyer. Mark Meadows was Trump's chief of staff. Former presidential administration chief of staff was indicted for that reason. These people in the Supreme Court were probably pissing in their pants, sitting in the corner crying, begging for forgiveness, saying, I'll do whatever you say. Clarence Thomas was like, nah. And I think it was Alito and Thomas who were like, screw that, we don't care. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.